Hey everyone, Shane here with Etrailer.com. Today I have a 2024 Hyundai Ioniq 5, and I'm going to walk you through how to install the CURT 2-inch trailer hitch receiver. This is what our hitch looks like when it's installed. The cross tube is going to be completely hidden behind the bumper fascia. The only thing we can really see is our receiver tube, so it's going to maintain a nice clean look. This hitch is going to give us a 2-inch by 2-inch receiver tube opening, which is going to give us a lot of different options, whether that's cargo carriers, bike racks, or trailers. Our neighbor today is only going to be using it mainly for bike racks and cargo carriers. I will recommend, if you ever think you're going to plan on towing, go ahead and add wiring to it as well and get them both put on at the same time. Hitch pin hole is going to be 5/8 inch in diameter. And take a standard 5/8 hitch pin. That's what's going to secure your items to your receiver. It doesn't come with a pin and clip, however you can find it here at Etrailer. Safety chain loops, it's going to be rolled steel. You can see very large openings, so it's really going to accept a lot of different size safety chain hooks. As far as our measurements from the ground to the inside of the receiver tube, sitting on the lift, we're at about 17 inches. The lift sits about 8 inches off the ground, so we're looking at, from here to the ground, sitting on the ground, it's going to be about 9 inches. I would highly recommend, if you plan on putting a bike rack, cargo carrier, or anything like that on, or even towing a trailer, you get a raised shank to help raise those items up just a little bit. The hitch pin hole to the outer part of the fascia, you're looking at about 4 inches. Keep that number in mind for any of those hitch mount accessories that may fold up. You want to make sure they're not going to make contact with the vehicle. Very important thing to keep in mind when adding a hitch to your vehicle is the weight capacities. You're going to have a 250-pound max tongue weight, which is the downward pressure on the inside of the receiver tube, 2,500-pound trailer weight, which is the trailer plus the load included. Always recommend checking the owner's manual of the vehicle. Make sure the vehicle can withstand that amount of weight. You're going to go with the lowest number between the vehicle and the hitch. As far as the installation process, it's pretty simple, straightforward. I will recommend having the back of the vehicle up on some ramps, because getting a torque wrench up onto the frame rail to tighten the bolts on the side of on each side of the hitch, you're not going to have a whole lot of room with it actually sitting on the ground. So give yourself that extra room, get it up on lifts. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward, not too difficult. If it's something that you may not have time or the room to do, you can always check out our dealer locator, find someone near you that is able of putting it in. If you're wanting to give it a try yourself, I promise you can get it done in your driveway or in your garage. Follow along with me and I'll walk through how to do it now. We're going to start our installation by removing this lower black trim panel piece. You're going to have 10 push pin fasteners that run from one side to the other. Take a trim panel tool or a flathead screwdriver. There's going to be an opening on it. All you do is pull that head out and then pull the base out. You're going to repeat that for the remaining ones. Well, let's take this, pull it down, and we'll set it aside to be trimmed and reinstalled later on. To make it a little bit easier, we're going to go ahead and remove this panel as well. You're going to have a few 10mm head bolts, one here, here, and here, one here and here. You'll have this plastic fastener. You just unscrew it as we kind of pull down, and then we may have to pull off a couple of these push pin fasteners. We'll start with these. Now we're going to follow the panel to the front, towards the front of the vehicle. You're going to have another 10mm bolt up in here, one up in here in the middle, and then another one over here on this side. Once you get those removed, you can lower the panel down and set it aside to be reinstalled later. So on our driver's side, you're going to have a wiring harness right here. It's connected to the back side of this. You need to pop that loose. Take a trim panel tool. We're going to take this wire and we're going to push it off to the side just like that. Next, we need to install our frame brackets. You'll notice one side has this little plate on it. That needs to face the back of the vehicle. That's going to tell you what side it goes on. For instance, this one's going to be our driver's side. You'll notice it's got a little lip. Because the frame rail has a little lip on it, this is going to sit on there And then we're going to have 3 holes on the outside of the frame rail that we're going to run a bolt through here into the frame rail. You're not going to be able to see it, but up in this corner where I took the wiring off, so we go straight towards the center of the vehicle. You just reach your hand up there and kind of feel, you'll be able to feel those 3 holes where those bolts would go. What we're going to be putting on is a hex bolt, conical tooth washer, make sure the teeth are facing towards the bracket. We're going to set this up in place, and then we're going to thread one of these into each one of those holes. It may be easier for you if you take this pushpin fastener off this corner for your wheel well liner, and take your wheel well liner and kind of tuck it back behind this rod here on each side. That'll give you a little bit more room to work. So if you remember, we had to take this plug off. In the instructions it says dislodge the 2 plugs. This is the only plug over here. I think what they're talking about is this wiring, because I went to put the bracket up and it wouldn't go far enough to the end. So you take a trim panel tool, follow this line up, there's a little fastener right there. That little fastener. You need to take that and pull that out, and then you should be able to get your frame bracket in place. So now with the next set of hands, we're going to get a hitch into place. I'm going to make sure you have your 3 carriage bolts for each side handy. Once we get it up, we're going to take the carriage bolt, we're going to slide it in from the inside out. What we're going to have to do is we're going to slide it up, and then we're going to have to kind of slide it forward to get past all of this and to get this hole to line up with the one in the bracket that we just installed. Now with our side brackets loosely installed, we're going to take our carriage bolts and slide them into the hole. This upper one here towards the front of the vehicle, you can probably get it in with your fingers. There's another one up in this corner. Kit's going to come with pull wires. And the easiest way to do it is to take the spring in, go from the outside, feed it through the hole, and come down like this. Take your carriage bolt, we're going to thread it on. And we're going to pull it through like that. Remove your pull wire, add on a flange nut. Now, until you get the other side on, I would not tighten these flange nuts down. Just loosely put them on, because you're going to need to shift the hitch a little bit so that this bracket moves out so you can get this bolt in place. Once you get all of your hardware installed with the nuts, go ahead with a 3/4 inch socket and tighten everything down. Once you have all your hardware tightened down, you're going to come back, you're going to torque it all. Pay attention to the instructions, because your bottom bolts here are going to have a different torque spec than the ones going into the frame rail. We're going to take this small panel. You notice these tabs here, this is what hooks into the bottom of the fascia. We're going to go 1.5 inches in from each one of these holes from center. This square needs to be 3/4 wide. And we're not going to cut it all the way off this way. We're going to go right to this edge, and we're going to cut it off all the way here. I'm just going to use a rotary tool. can take a knife or a file, clean off all the little burrs. Just run your blade across it. Once you get it cut, you can test fit it and do any further trimming you need to do. Once you get it trimmed the way you need, reinstall it, reinstall the lower panel if you removed it, and you're ready to go. It's going to do it for a look at and installation of the CURT Class 3 Trailer Hitch receiver on a 2024 Hyundai Ioniq 5.